Ladies and gentlemen, if I may, let us begin by acknowledging something that we all know but may not often speak of. There is a deep and undeniable longing within each of us. It's a longing we may try to quiet with distractions, but it remains, nagging at our hearts. It's a sense that the world, with all its beauty and wonders, still falls short of something we deeply crave. This is not an uncommon feeling. In fact, I would argue that this longing is the most human thing about us. It suggests something profoundly true about the nature of our existence. We were made for another world. Consider, if you will, the moments in life when you've had the taste of joy, a joy so pure that you know there's something more to it, but it slips away almost before you can grasp it. The happiness that the world offers, whether in wealth, love, or success, can never seem to fully satisfy, not because they are inherently wrong or bad, but because they are not meant to be the ultimate source of our joy. They are glimpses, fleeting shadows of a deeper and more lasting joy, a joy that the world itself cannot contain. If we are honest, we all know the temporary nature of our pleasures. They come and go. We indulge in them only to find that when the moment passes, something in us remains restless. The satisfaction is fleeting. But this very restlessness, this dissatisfaction, is not something to be ashamed of. It is, I would argue, a sign that we are not quite at home here. It is evidence that we were made for a world that is not bound by time, a world where joy is not a passing moment, but an eternal reality. Now, there are those who might argue that these longings are merely illusions, that our desires are simply the products of our minds trying to make sense of an indifferent universe. But I challenge you to consider this. If our desires for meaning, for truth, for justice, for beauty, and for peace were merely the result of evolutionary processes or chemical reactions in our brains, why then do they so often point us beyond the material world? Why is it that we cannot seem to settle for less, even when we try to do so? These longings, these yearnings are not weaknesses, but clues, clues to our true nature and our true destiny. The reality is that we are made for a world that is yet to come. We are made for a world where all things will be made new, where the fleeting pleasures of this life will give way to eternal joy. We are made for a world where our deepest longings will be satisfied, not with passing earthly things, but with the fullness of life itself. This is the promise that sustains us, the hope that enables us to press on, even in the face of hardship. It is the knowledge that we are not bound forever to the limitations of this world, that our souls are destined for something far greater. So, my friends, the next time you feel that longing, when you feel that the world has left you wanting more, do not despair. It is not a flaw in your character or an unfortunate byproduct of your existence. It is a whisper from the deeper part of you, calling you to something more, something eternal. You are made for another world. And that world, I believe, is closer than we often realize. From the very beginning of human existence, there has been a profound and universal longing that transcends the material world. It is not something we can fully articulate or define, yet it is a feeling shared across cultures, time periods, and generations. This longing is not born out of dissatisfaction with life, nor is it a result of human failure. Rather, it is an inherent part of our being, a deep-seated desire for something that this world alone cannot satisfy. While we might try to fill this void with the pleasures and pursuits of earthly life, there always seems to be something missing, something that these experiences cannot fully fulfill. This longing for something beyond the material world speaks to a truth embedded within us all, a truth that suggests we were made for a reality beyond what we can see, touch, or comprehend. From the simplest pleasures to the most profound human experiences, we are constantly in search of fulfillment. A beautiful sunset might stir something deep within us, evoking feelings of awe and wonder. A moment of success, love, or personal achievement might fill us with a sense of purpose and joy. But these experiences, as fulfilling as they may be in the moment, often leave us longing for something more. We crave a permanence, a deeper meaning, and a lasting satisfaction that can never quite be attained from the transient pleasures of life. It is as if the experiences themselves are pointing us to something greater, something beyond the grasp of our current reality. The yearning for something beyond the material world can be observed in many aspects of human life. The arts, for example, have long served as a vehicle through which we express this longing. Artists, musicians, and writers have sought to capture the beauty, mystery, and depth of existence in ways that go beyond mere description or representation. Through their works, they often touch upon the ineffable, those things that cannot be fully expressed or understood but are deeply felt. The work of a painter, for instance, can evoke emotions and stir the soul in ways that mere physicality cannot. The beauty of a well-composed piece of music can transport us to a place that feels both real and transcendent, as if it were touching something beyond the material realm. Yet, as much as we may attempt to capture these feelings through art, literature, or other means, the experience of longing remains. Even the most breathtaking moments of joy, beauty, and connection eventually fade. The world, with all its wonders, does not offer lasting fulfillment. The joy derived from a beautiful piece of music may be fleeting. The sense of achievement from a success eventually fades into the background, and even the most profound relationships eventually fades into an end. In each of these moments, we can sense that something greater is being hinted at, but it is just beyond our reach. The satisfaction we seek never seems to last, and thus we are left longing for something more. This longing, however, is not simply a consequence of human imperfection or failure. It is part of the very fabric of who we are. It speaks to a truth that transcends the material world, a truth that suggests that we were created for something more than what we experience in this life. We were made for a world that is not limited by the constraints of time, space, and decay. Our hearts are restless because they are not at home in this world, and they long for a reality that is eternal, perfect, and beyond the fleeting nature of earthly experiences. It is easy to dismiss this longing as a mere byproduct of human desire or a product of our evolutionary biology, but such an explanation fails to capture the depth and universality of the experience. If our desires for meaning, beauty, truth, and love were merely the result of biological processes, why do these desires so often point us beyond the material world? Why is it that no matter how much we achieve, no matter how many pleasures we indulge in, we are still left feeling that something is missing, something remains unsatisfied? These desires cannot be explained away by simple biological or psychological explanations. They speak to a deeper truth about our nature and our purpose in the world. The philosopher Blaise Pascal famously wrote that there is a God-shaped vacuum in the heart of every man, a void that cannot be filled by anything other than God. This idea points to the fact that human beings were made with a deep longing for something beyond the material world, a longing that only a transcendent reality can satisfy. We were made for a world that is not confined to the limits of our physical senses or the constraints of earthly time. The satisfaction we seek, the fulfillment we desire, lies not in the things of this world but in something far greater. This longing for another world can be seen not only in the arts or in moments of personal reflection, but also in the human quest for meaning. Across cultures, people have long asked the big questions. Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? What happens after we die? These questions are not mere intellectual exercises. They are rooted in the deepest longings of the human heart. We yearn for answers, for a sense of direction, and for a deeper understanding of our place in the grand scheme of things. This quest for meaning is not something that can be fully satisfied by the material world, for the material world offers only temporary answers to temporary questions. True meaning, it seems, lies in a realm beyond the physical, in a reality that transcends our limited understanding. In our most honest moments, we admit that this world, as wonderful as it can be, is not enough. We desire something more, something that can provide the lasting fulfillment that the fleeting pleasures of life cannot. We are like travelers on a journey, constantly searching for a destination that we cannot quite reach, yet knowing instinctively that it exists. The longings we experience are not accidents or mistakes. They are part of our design. We were made for another world, a world that offers the eternal satisfaction and fulfillment that our hearts truly crave. Until we reach that world, the longing will remain, reminding us that we are not at home here. The concept of earthly pleasures often carries with it the promise of satisfaction and fulfillment, yet for many these pleasures seem to fall short of their expectations. They are fleeting, temporary, and often fail to provide the lasting peace and contentment that the soul desires. The incompatibility between these pleasures, and the soul's true desire speaks to a profound truth about human existence. While earthly pleasures can bring moments of happiness, they are unable to address the deeper, more fundamental longings of the soul, which ultimately points to a reality beyond the material world. Human beings experience a wide array of pleasures: the joy of a delicious meal, the satisfaction of achieving a goal, the excitement of love and companionship, or the relief of rest after a long day. These pleasures are often seen as the highest goods in life, the things we work for and strive to attain. However, despite the enjoyment they provide, these pleasures are inherently temporary. The meal that satisfies our hunger eventually passes, and the joy of achievement fades as time moves on. Even the most cherished relationships are bound by the limitations of time, often leading to separation or change. These experiences, though meaningful, remind us that they are finite, and in their fleeting nature, they cannot fully quench the deeper thirst of the soul. The true desire of the human soul transcends the immediate gratification that earthly pleasures offer. While the body may crave sensory experiences such as taste, sight, and touch, the soul craves something far greater. The soul seeks fulfillment, meaning, and eternal satisfaction, desires that the material world cannot fully meet. The pleasures of this world may temporarily distract us from our deeper yearnings, but they cannot satisfy the soul's need for lasting peace, purpose, and connection. We may indulge in these pleasures, but even as we do so, there is often a sense that something is missing. We may experience joy in the moment, but once the moment passes, the longing remains. The mismatch between the soul's true desires and earthly pleasures becomes most apparent when we realize that the things of this world are finite. Earthly pleasures exist within the confines of time and space, and as such, they are subject to decay, change, and impermanence. No matter how pleasurable an experience may be, it eventually comes to an end. A delicious meal, once consumed, leaves us hungry again. A fleeting moment of happiness is soon replaced by the complexities and challenges of daily life. Even the relationships we cherish, no matter how enduring they may seem, are subject to the passage of time. Whether through distance, change, or loss, these relationships remind us that earthly pleasures are transitory. This impermanence is at odds with the soul's true longing. The soul desires something that is not bound by time, something eternal and unchanging. It longs for peace that does not fade, joy that is not fleeting, and love that is not subject to the constraints of mortality. The soul's desire points beyond the limits of earthly existence and yearns for a reality where time and decay have no power. The pleasures of this world, in their fleeting nature, serve only as reminders that the soul's true desire cannot be satisfied by the things of this earth. They highlight the gap between what we experience and what we truly long for. The incompatibility between earthly pleasures and the soul's true desire also manifests in the dissatisfaction that often follows the pursuit of these pleasures. While we may experience momentary pleasure or happiness, the satisfaction they bring is often short-lived. Once the initial pleasure fades, we find ourselves longing for more, or for something else entirely. The pursuit of material goods, status, and success may bring temporary contentment, but they rarely provide lasting fulfillment. In fact, many find that the more they pursue these pleasures, the emptier they feel. The joy that comes from acquiring material wealth or achieving personal success fades quickly, leaving behind a sense of hollowness. The endless pursuit of earthly pleasures can become a cycle, one that leaves us chasing after something that never quite delivers the fulfillment we desire. This dissatisfaction is not a reflection of a flaw in human nature, but rather an indication of the incompatibility between the soul's true desires and the pleasures of the material world. The soul, by its very nature, seeks fulfillment on a deeper level, one that transcends the pleasures of the senses. When we attempt to satisfy this deeper longing with fleeting pleasures, we inevitably find ourselves disappointed. It is as if we are trying to fill a vast and infinite space with something that is finite and limited. No matter how much we indulge, the space within us remains unfilled. The sense of dissatisfaction that accompanies earthly pleasures often leads individuals to question the nature of their desires. Some may even attempt to suppress or ignore their longings, believing that the key to happiness lies in embracing the present moment or finding contentment in what is immediately available. However, this approach ultimately proves unsatisfying, as it fails to address the deeper spiritual hunger that exists within every human heart. The attempt to find ultimate fulfillment in the material world is akin to trying to quench thirst with sand. It may provide temporary relief, but it does not satisfy the true need. This incompatibility is not necessarily a negative judgment on earthly pleasures themselves. Many of the pleasures we experience in life, from food and drink to friendship and love, are gifts that can enrich our existence. These pleasures, in their proper place, can bring joy and meaning to life. However, when we elevate them to the status of ultimate fulfillment, they inevitably disappoint. The problem is not with the pleasures themselves, but with our tendency to mistake them for the true source of satisfaction that our souls seek. These pleasures are not meant to be the final destination. They are glimpses, signs, and foreshadowings of something far greater. In the end, the incompatibility between earthly pleasures and the soul's true desire reveals the deeper truth that we were made for something beyond this world. The soul's yearning for fulfillment, peace, and eternal joy cannot be satisfied by the temporary pleasures of life. Earthly pleasures, no matter how enjoyable, are mere shadows of the true satisfaction that awaits us. The soul's desire points to a reality beyond this world, one that is eternal, unchanging, and perfectly fulfilling. The deeper the longing, the more evident it becomes that the soul was made for another world, a world where the things of this earth no longer hold sway, and where true fulfillment can be found. Until we acknowledge this deeper truth, we will continue to seek fulfillment in things that can never satisfy the true desires of our souls. Throughout human history, there has been a consistent thread of hope and longing for a future that transcends the limitations of the present world. This hope is not based merely on the anticipation of better circumstances or material success, but on a deeper and more profound promise, a promise of a future that is entirely beyond the confines of time, space, and death. This transcendent future speaks to the human soul's deepest yearning for ultimate fulfillment, peace, and joy. It offers the possibility of a reality where all that is broken or incomplete in the present will be made whole, and where all human longing will find its true and lasting satisfaction. It is a future where the soul, weary from the struggles and disappointments of the present, will find rest and fulfillment in a way that the world as it stands cannot provide. The promise of a transcendent future is one that has inspired individuals throughout time, from ancient religious texts to contemporary philosophies. It is rooted in the belief that there is more to life than what we experience in the here and now. While our current world is marked by suffering, imperfection, and transience, this future promise offers a hope that goes beyond these limitations. It promises a world where death has no power, where pain and sorrow are no more, and where all things are made right. This vision is not a vague wish for a better world, but a concrete expectation of something real and transformative that lies ahead. It is a future where all the deepest longings of the human heart are finally and completely fulfilled. This hope is often rooted in the belief that the current world, with all its imperfections, is not the final state of affairs. Human beings, as they experience the frustrations and limitations of life, often sense that there must be something more, something beyond the here and now. Whether through religion, philosophy, or personal reflection, people have consistently sought to understand the nature of this transcendent future and the ways in which it can be attained. It is not simply the hope for an idealized version of the present world, but the anticipation of a completely new reality that brings ultimate fulfillment and peace. This belief is rooted in the conviction that the soul is not bound to the confines of the material world, but is destined for something beyond what can be seen or touched. The transcendent future is often described in religious traditions as a realm where divine justice and mercy are fully realized. It is a future where all wrongs are righted, where suffering is alleviated, and where the brokenness of the world is healed. In many religious frameworks, this future is linked to the fulfillment of God's ultimate plan for humanity, one in which all things are made new. This promise gives individuals the strength to endure hardship and suffering, knowing that there is a greater purpose beyond the pain they experience in the present moment. In this future, the soul is freed from the constraints of time, death, and decay. The promise is not simply that things will get better in a general sense, but that there is a specific, ultimate future that will completely transform existence in ways that are beyond human comprehension. The vision of a transcendent future is often intertwined with the idea of immortality or eternal life. While earthly existence is characterized by mortality and finitude, the transcendent future promises a life that is not limited by death. The fear of death and the awareness of our own mortality are deeply ingrained in the human experience, yet the hope of a future that transcends death offers comfort and peace. This promise offers the possibility of a life that continues beyond the grave, where the soul is not extinguished but is transformed into something eternal. The nature of this transformation is often described as one of perfection, where the flaws, imperfections, and limitations of earthly life are no longer present, and the soul is united with the divine or with the ultimate truth of existence. The promise of a transcendent future also addresses the human desire for justice and meaning. In a world where injustice and suffering often seem rampant, the hope of a future where all things are made right brings a sense of assurance. It is a future where the wrongs of the present are rectified, where the oppressed are vindicated, and where all things work in harmony with the divine order. This vision of the future serves as a source of strength for those who endure suffering and injustice in the present, providing them with the assurance that their pain is not meaningless, but will ultimately be transformed in the fullness of time. The hope for justice and restoration in the transcendent future helps individuals make sense of the challenges they face in the present and motivates them to persevere, knowing that there is a greater reality awaiting them. Moreover, the promise of a transcendent future provides a sense of ultimate purpose. In a world that often seems chaotic and uncertain, it offers a vision of existence that is purposeful and intentional. The soul, as it seeks meaning and fulfillment, finds hope in the belief that its true destiny lies beyond the constraints of the present. This belief gives people the courage to live lives of integrity, compassion, and generosity. Even in the face of adversity, it enables individuals to transcend the limitations of their immediate circumstances and to live in a way that reflects their deeper understanding of their true purpose. The knowledge that there is a transcendent future allows people to see their lives as part of a larger, grander narrative that extends beyond the confines of the present moment. This transcendent future is also often described as a realm where the soul finds rest and peace. In the present world, individuals are constantly striving, struggling, and seeking fulfillment. The pressures of daily life, the weight of personal and societal expectations, and the constant search for meaning and purpose can be exhausting. In this context, the promise of a future where the soul is finally at rest, where it is free from the anxieties and struggles of the present, provides a profound sense of hope. This rest is not simply the cessation of activity, but the attainment of a deeper peace that transcends the turmoil of earthly existence. It is the peace of knowing that all is as it should be, and that the soul is finally united with its true source. Ultimately, the promise of a transcendent future offers a vision of fulfillment and joy that far surpasses the fleeting pleasures of the present world. While earthly life may bring moments of happiness and satisfaction, these are temporary and often accompanied by pain and loss. In contrast, the future promised by this vision is one of eternal joy, where the soul is fully united with its purpose and its creator. It is a joy that is not dependent on circumstances or material conditions, but is rooted in the very nature of the soul's fulfillment. This transcendent future does not merely promise an escape from the struggles of the present, but offers a deeper, more meaningful existence that fulfills the soul's true longing. This promise is a beacon of hope that transcends the limitations of human experience. It gives individuals the strength to endure the trials and tribulations of life, knowing that they are not in vain. The transcendent future calls to the deepest parts of the human soul, offering the assurance that there is a greater reality beyond what we can see and experience in the present. It is a promise that transcends time, offering a vision of eternal fulfillment that addresses the innermost desires of the human heart. It is a future that is not bound by the limits of the material world, but is rooted in a reality that transcends all that we know, offering the ultimate satisfaction and peace that the soul craves.